Up next on Real Talk.
We're not asking you to change your beliefs or your backgrounds or your experiences, but be open to others' backgrounds, beliefs, and experiences. We can be number one in the industry in all we say and do.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our third edition of Real Talk on the topic of inclusion and diversity. Today we have with us Shawn Patterson, our COO and CIO, and he is going to share with us his perspective of inclusion and diversity at Southern Star. Thank you for being with us today, Shawn.
It's awesome to be here. Thank you for having me, Ashley.
Awesome. So before we dig into the tough questions, I want to allow for you to kind of set the stage for us about how you feel we are progressing on our I&D journey.
Awesome. Well, I'd start by saying the focus of Southern Star over the last 5 years since our CEO, Jimmy Staten, arrived has been on the I, or the inclusive piece. And I think if we look at our employee engagement scores over that time period, as an organization, we see our scores improving in the realm of employees feeling comfortable to challenge the norm, to push back, and everybody has a voice at Southern Star. So I think we have the foundation laid. I think, it's next, the proof will be in the pudding on what we do with the diversity side of I&D. And I kind of think about our safety culture at Southern Star. It's part of our fabric in everything we say and everything we do. That's the point that we know we'll be successful, is when it's in our fabric, it's there, it's the right thing to do, and our objectives become better, if you will. That's ultimately the end game of where we need to take inclusion and diversity here.
Absolutely. I love the story of translating our I&D journey to our safety journey, because you have certainly done that with ensuring that safety is everyone owns it and everyone's responsible for being their brothers and their sisters' keeper. And I think we are well on our way to that same level of ownership from an inclusion and diversity perspective. So thank you, Shawn. So again, thanks for sharing your perspective. So we're going to jump right into some of the tough questions that we've been asked from some of our team members, or that we hear, murmuring through the organization. So we do have some people at Southern Star who are worried or concerned that this focus on more of the diversity perspective that you mentioned is going to diminish our talent, or my favorite question is, are we still going to hire the best talent? What's your perspective on that?
Yeah, I sense a little bias in that question, Ashley, but that's okay. I think from a leadership perspective at Southern Star, we truly have to be committed to hiring the best. And the proof is in the pudding with our organization. I think, I often talk about building that wall of credibility one brick at a time. And I think once we bring in diverse talent and show the organization that they perform at the highest levels in whatever function they may be, then we continue our success into the future. I think we have to partner with HR and OD. What are we doing from scholarship perspectives? How are we partnering with our VOTEC schools out there? We did a great job with our intern program. We have to leverage that, and hopefully there'll be some full-time employment from an inclusion and diversity perspective as well. So I think it takes all of us really owning it and working together to hire those best employees out there.
Absolutely. So kind of taking that a step further, I've even had some leaders raise their hands and ask, how are we to attract more diverse candidates and underrepresented populations when we don't currently look that way?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say, back to the opening would be focus on the I. What are we doing around inclusion? Do we want every voice at the table? I think we have to be accepting of others' opinions, experiences, and values. We're not really asking our employees at Southern Star to change, but what we are asking you to do is accept those beliefs, be welcoming from an inclusion and diversity perspective to everybody. So everybody has a seat at the table. You don't have to change, but again, welcome those different thoughts and experiences.
Absolutely. Awesome. Beautifully said. Thanks, Shawn. So kind of shifting gears a bit, you have perhaps heard that we've done this before. We tried to focus on I&D. We've tried to attract more diverse talent, and we haven't been successful. What's different this time?
Yeah, I think a couple things. I think that everybody's probably had a little Baskin Robbins over the years, and they have the flavor of the month. Well, first and foremost, do you know Jimmy Staten, our CEO? I&D will not be the flavor of the month. It's here to stay. We're committed to it. We need to develop some metrics and really drive culture. When I say drive culture, I mean there are things you do correlating back to our safety culture, one, your employees have to own I&D. It takes all of us working together. You and I can talk about it. Jimmy, Tammy, Chris Schindler can talk about it. But until our employees own I&D, it's not the fabric of your culture. And so we have to set up some common metrics, some common language, some common pictorials out in the field. What is inclusion diversity to us? And we, as a leadership team, have to do a great job of showing the benefit of I&D to the organization. And what is that benefit? I think if you look at, let's just take our company scorecard, for instance. With I&D, you get better results. Those achievements come more rapidly and at an accelerated pace when you bring those different backgrounds and experiences to the table.
Absolutely. But I think people are nervous about that. There's a lot of angst in the organization right now that we're going to be different. And everyone loves the culture at Southern Star, right? We hear that over and over and over. But there is some fear out there right now that we're going to change, that we're going to be different in response to attracting different talent than we have in the past. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I would say don't be afraid of a winning team. I think I&D just makes us all the better as an organization. And, I think a simplistic way for me to talk about it would be, let's say, football. In football, you have different folks at different positions. Your lineman may be a bigger stature in nature, a little slower, a little anchored at the feet, if you will. Your receivers, a little more fleet at foot. Your quarterback, a great leader, commanding of the offense. But those folks working together with those different backgrounds and experiences get a better product. You have some daughters, I have some daughters, and we've done the cheerleading thing over the years. And you see those great cheerleading teams. Sometimes you have a base, and sometimes you have a flyer. For those of you who don't know, a flyer is somebody who flies up in the air, and a base is kind of the base of the pyramid. But it takes the team working together with those different experiences. So, one, I&D's here to stay. It's not the Baskin-Robbins or the flavor of the month. We all need to be committed to it. And to your question, I think you get a better product in whatever you're trying to accomplish here at Southern Star.
Take that a little further. When you talk about football and you talk about teams, you can clearly see results at the end of the game, right? So what does that look like from an I&D perspective? What does that look like organizationally? What results are we expecting?
Yeah, I think it leads to a championship team. I really do. And I think that, the last 4 or 5 years, the foundation to our team is the I. We have been inclusive, as I've mentioned here. Everybody has a voice. Now it's how do we bring those different experiences to the table? And, Southern Star doesn't want to be second in anything we do. And I think the more diverse and inclusive our teams are, the better results we will have. We want to be a safety leader. We want to be a maintenance leader. We want to be a leadership development leader. We also want to be an I&D leader in this organization. And I think we have to have a systematic approach to make sure that our employees understand, are bought in, and then also become champions in the organization. So not only champion I&D as an individual, but also as a team, as a holistic approach as well.
Absolutely. And so I think what I'm hearing you say, Shawn, is that there has to be a conscientious and concerted effort to progress from an I&D, through an I&D lens and have that focus organizationally. We've gotten a lot of feedback. We've got a lot going on at Southern Star. We have a lot of priorities, and we are perhaps struggling a bit in being able to help prioritize teams and provide that focus. How do we ensure, we hear you, I&D's here to stay, it's not going anywhere, it's going to remain, a priority for us. How does that lie within the spectrum of all of the other priorities at Southern Star?
Yeah, I think that, I&D is foundational to us from a value perspective as well. If you talk about, integrity, customer focus, safety, it should be and will be a core value to Southern Star as we move ahead. So I don't think it's something that's, outside of all the initiatives that we're doing. Truly, if I&D becomes a part of that fabric at Southern Star, it helps you accomplish everything that you set out to accomplish. And it ties directly to, again, our values here. So at the end of the day, I think it makes us better. It makes us achieve our goals in a more accelerated manner. And it kind of boosts us up to be that number one team in the natural gas industry across the United States that we so strive to be in every initiative that we set out for.
Absolutely. Awesome. Thank you, Shawn. Before we part ways, I want to just open the floor. I know, we can't mistake your passion for where we're going and where we need to be. Is there anything you would want to share with the rest of the organization that maybe we haven't talked about today?
Yeah, I think a couple things. One, I have the luxury of growing up in a military household. And, for me, I've lived overseas 9 years. I participated in sports. So not only did I see a diverse upbringing in the military, but I call sports as the equalizer. I remember playing on my high school football team in Germany, and we had all nationalities: Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Samoans, Filipinos. And just to, be a team that I would call made up of folks from all over the world, allowed me as a kid to leverage those backgrounds and experiences. And I think people at the core are good people, with great experiences that we want them to bring to the table. And I just would ask the folks at Southern Star to truly open up themselves to that. I think about the Bradley curve of safety, and the Bradley curve is essentially a change management curve. And you'll hear me, Jimmy, yourself, Tammy, and Chris, we often talk about that journey to the interdependent stage of the Bradley curve. There's a quadrant that's 2 phases over called the dependent stage. And if I were to evaluate Southern Star as a whole right now, I'd say we're at the dependent stage. We're a little below 50%, if you want me to give you some honest feedback and real talk, if you will. So we have a long way to go to reach that interdependent stage for inclusion and diversity. My ask to the team would be, 1, be committed, be open. We're not asking you to change your beliefs or your backgrounds or your experiences, but be open to others' backgrounds, beliefs, and experiences. And I think that we can get there. We can achieve our initiatives in an accelerated manner. And then most importantly, we can be number 1 in the industry in all we say and do at Southern Star.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Thank you, Shawn. Thank you all for tuning in to our 3rd edition of Real Talk on Inclusion and Diversity. Join us next month. We're going to have Chris Schindler in the hot seat, and we will further our conversations and accelerate the topic. So thanks again, Shawn, for being here. It's been a pleasure. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, Ashley.
Thank you.